Okay, hi again.
Hi, Professor.
Hi.
Is,
Hi, sir.
is it now clear?
Hi, Professor.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Now
it's
can
clear.
hear you.
So we hope it would continue to be good as it is right now. Okay, so before I logged off, I was talking about a few of the things that we did last time. I said that the main thing we focused on last time was how to paraphrase, and I explained to you that this is an important skill. That is, you should give it much importance because it would help you a lot, especially if you want to continue your studies beyond where you are now, especially if you want to get a master's degree or a doctoral degree. So you need to be someone who is good at paraphrasing, because you will always need to read other people's work and you need to cite that work in your own work. And to do this, so you need to be in good command of this important skill. That is the skill of paraphrasing. In the previous online meeting we talked about a number of strategies, a number of techniques that you need to acquire in order to be a good paraphraser. Okay, so the first one that we refer to is to change the part of speech of the words employed by the writer using your own. Can you explain to me in very brief words? Can you explain to me what does this mean to you? Did you hear my question?
Sir, can you please say it again?
Okay, I'm asking you about the first technique that we covered last time. Last time, we talked about the need to change the part of speech of the words employed by the writer. What does this mean to you? What does it mean to you?
It's a paraphrasing technique, sir, or
Yes, it is a paraphrasing technique,
Can I
and
ask,
it is something we talked about last time. I'm only asking you to talk about it again just to make sure that you still remember what it means.
teacher, can I ask?
Yes, go ahead, please. Go ahead.
Like sometimes if we have a noun in the sentence, we can make it like a eng form, like
Okay, that's it. That's it. For example, if you have in the original text, if you have something like analysis, you may turn the sentence or you may turn the class of the word from noun into verb, analyze, investigate, investigation, and so on and so forth. So the idea is clear. In doing this, you're gonna make important changes in the text so you are not plagiarizing. You are not using the author's exact words and crediting them to you. But you need, if you want to do this, you need, for example, to use quotation marks if you want to use the exact words of the author. A second technique we also talked about is using synonyms. What does this mean? Very brief.
When we have a word, we use its synonym, which we make sure that it is 100% have the exact same meaning of the word.
Okay,
So
good.
that
I like it. I like it when you said 100% sure, because recall when I talked about this, I cautioned you to be careful when using synonyms, because sometimes the dictionary can tell us that two words are synonyms, but it's not the case that they are interchangeable. That is, if one context permits the use of one particular word, that is the exact same context may not permit using another word which the dictionary is telling us it's a synonym for the word we have in hand, and therefore we need to be sure. Okay, if you are 100% that the two words you want to use are interchangeable, it's okay, you have the green light to use them. But if not, you need to be sure. That is, you may want to use a different technique, either the first technique we talked about a moment ago or one of the techniques we're going to review in the few minutes yet to come. Technique number 3 is to change the way numbers and percentages were expressed in the original text. What does this mean again?
like we have seen in the examples that we did the last meeting, when we had a sentence, for example, that has 40% of something in the paraphrasing we do. more than 35% or something like this.
Okay,
So
great.
that
Yes, good, good. The answer is right. The answer is correct. Look, this shows the flexibility of the language. Language is blind. That is, you can express it in so many different ways. If the author, if the original text expresses a particular statistic or a particular word or figure or number in a particular way, you always have ample options, different possibilities to express it in different ways. And in doing so, what you are doing is kind of appropriating the ideas of the author using your own words, using your own wording. So this is the technique number 3 that we talked about last time. Technique 4 is to change the word order. What does this mean again?
Teacher?
Yes?
It's like we can change from active to passive voice.
Good, good. This is a good example. Remember, passive and active are in certain contexts interchangeable. But again, I think that I talked to you about the difference between active and passive. Can someone just help us remember the main difference between an active sentence and a passive sentence? I'm not asking in terms of structure. We all know how to express the active sentence and how to express the passive sentence. I'm asking you in terms of philosophy, in terms of meaning. When I use the active sentence, what do I want to say? What do I want to convey? And when I use the passive sentence, what is my objective?
Sir,
Yeah.
when we use the passive, talk about the subject always.
Okay. Yes. Right. Right. So we have to be clear about this. When you use the active, that is, it's clear that we know who does the action. We know the doer of the action. Okay. But when we use the passive, it's the opposite. That is, we don't know who did the action, and therefore we are focusing more on the action than on the doer of the action. So in some contexts, when we do not know the doer, that is, one option is going to be more accurate than the other. If you don't know the doer, it's better to use the passive. But if you know the doer, it's much better to use the active. But in other situations, they are interchangeable. If you use the active, it's fine. If you use the passive, it's again fine. The following technique I would like you to remember is to use different definition strategies, different definition structures. Again, this is so simple. That is, if, for example, in the original text, the writer used copula is, that is verb to be, to define a particular concept, when you want to rephrase or when you want to paraphrase, you can use a different way. For example, this can be defined as, we can define this as, this is characterized by, this can be characterized as, and so on and so on. So we have, again, a variety of different ways of how you can use different definition techniques to express it your own way. Technique 6 is to use different attribution signals. Remember, again, here we're talking about referring to the writer. That is because we are trying to use their own ideas. And again, we have different ways we can do this. It's either you use the author as the agent in the sentence, as the subject in the sentence, or you express the idea that you are interested in citing in your own work, and at the end, between parentheses, you include the writer's last name and year of publication. That is the year when the work was published. Okay, so we have different ways we can do this. The following technique that we talked about, maybe this is the last one. I emphasized the need for us to be careful not to change keywords. Keywords are difficult to change. If again you are 100% that you have a synonym that is exactly that has exactly the same meaning as the word employed by the author, it's fine. But if you feel that the word that you have in hand, that is the keywords that you have in the body that you want to cite in your own work, is difficult to paraphrase, is difficult to reword, to express using your own words, then you would better stick to the way it was expressed originally by the author. So this is it. These are the 8 different strategies I talked to you about last session. and it would always be good if you can practice using them. Maybe you can go to a web page, you can do it using a book chapter, a paper or an article from a journal, and you try to use information, expressing it your own way. But again, at the end, you need to refer to the writer. And this idea of referring to the author or the writer of the original ideas, of the original text, is exactly what we're going to turn to in this online meeting. That is how we can do in-text citation. And before I continue with this, I would like to draw your attention to an important idea here. Here we're talking about in-text citation according to the APA style, the American Psychology Association. This is something that was published in a book called the manual, the publication manual of the American Psychology Association. This is a book, this is a guidebook that provides researchers, scholars with a formatting system that they can employ to refer to different types of texts, different types of authors in their own work. And of course, doing this, they are aligning themselves with what is called the APA formatting system, or the APA for short, the APA style. In talking about the APA style, we have to talk about two important things here. The first thing is in-text citation, and the second is how to create your references section. The creation of the references section is something we're going to leave until the end. First thing we're going to start with is how we can cite other authors, other writers' work inside of the body of our own text. And this is exactly what I'm gonna turn to right now. As you can see, we're going to see different case scenarios, different situations. When we have one author, when we have two authors, when we have three authors, if we have, I don't know, text that goes beyond 40 words, text that is fewer than 40 words, and so on and so forth. So let's start with the first situation that we have in hand now. Can you see again? Can you see the PDF document displayed on the current screen?
Yes, Professor. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we can see.
Yes, we do.
Okay. Good.
Yes,
good.
sir.
So the first situation we need to talk about is the book, article, magazine, whatever material I would like to cite in our work. That is, the author of all of this is one person, is one individual. Okay. In case we're dealing with this situation, this is how we can cite the work of this person inside of the text. Remember, I'm talking about in-text citation. So, for example, here we have Gower. This is the name of the author. Of course, this is the last name of the author. This is the year of publication when the work was published. And then you continue on with the sentence. Look, if we want to compare sentence one, that is reference one, not reference one, but the first in-text citation with the second in-text citation, the main difference between the two is this. In the first instance, in the first example, we are using the last name of the author as the subject of the sentence. Look here, Gower, 2001, argued that leisure time, and so on and so forth. But in the second example, we are not using the last name of the author as the subject of the sentence. We are borrowing his idea, which is leisure time should not be regarded as either time wasted or an unproductive pursuit. And at the end of the sentence, we enclose it between parentheses, and we put last name of the author, comma, year of publication, comma, p, small p, that is lowercase p, which refers to the page number, and then you put the page number, which is 207. So as you can see here, we have two different ways of how we can cite people's work in our work, especially if we are talking about one author. Is the first example clear for everybody?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yes, sir.
Great.
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. Now
Yes,
let's see when we have a situation in which we have a particular reference that was published by two authors. Okay, again, we're going to have the two different situations we referred to earlier here, either using it as the subject or leaving it until the end of the sentence, but with a little difference we're going to talk about right now. So here, this is the first instance. We use it as, that is the two authors, the last names of the two authors, we use them as the subject of the sentence. For example, here we have Jackson and McCurry, 2003, and then you continue, you go on with the rest of the text, or you begin with the idea, and then at the end of the sentence, you refer to the last names of the two authors. And the main difference, as you can see, here we are combining the last name of the first author with the second last name of the second author using and. But when you are not using the last names of the authors as the subject of the sentence, that is, you combine them or you coordinate them using this symbol. Okay, the symbol that we use to refer to addition, okay, to and. This is a basic difference. It's important. That is, it's not, we are not using it just for decor, but these are conventions that we have to abide by. Okay?
Yes.
Sir, I have a question.
Yes, please, go ahead. Go ahead.
What if we have a different year and different pages, different books? How we can cite them?
I didn't get your question.
Like Jackson and Monkey, the different year between them.
Are you talking about the example we have here, that is Jackson and McCurry?
Yes, I'm talking about the different year, like 2003.
Okay, good question, Muad. Good question, Muad. So listen up. We have to understand that here we are not talking about two authors publishing two different works the same year. This is not what I'm talking about. Jackson and McCurry, both authors, they worked on the same work. This is the same publication. If it is a book, it's one book. If it is an article, it's one article. These two people, these two individuals, they co-authored the same publication. Did you get it, Muad?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I get it.
Okay. So what you are talking about, what you are asking me about, is a different case scenario we're going to talk about later. That is when we have two different works. Each work is published, is written by a different author. That's something different we're going to see later on in this meeting. All right. So this is the first instance. This is the first situation. That is when we have one author. This is the second situation when we have two authors. Now, what if we have 3 to 5 authors? Because this happens. Okay, it happens sometimes. A group of colleagues, a team of authors, they together work on the same subject. And when they want to report their findings, they write just one paper. That is, it wouldn't be good. It wouldn't be wise for each one of them to write a separate piece of work and publish it on their own. That is, because they've been a team working on the same subject, so they need to write one single research report. And when they do this, when we want to refer to them, we need to refer to all of those authors. But there are certain conventions, again, that we need to take account of. So what happens when we have 3 to 5 authors? If you have 3 to 5 authors, the first time you mention them in your text, you need to mention the 3 authors. Look at the example here. Sorry. So here we are talking about Adams, Sweezy, and Hodgson. Okay, this is the first time they appeared in my text. Now, what if I mention them again and again inside of the same text? When I do, I need to refer only to one author. That is the last name of the first author. And I use this symbol, which is Ethel. Can you see that, guys? Can you see what I'm talking about here?
Yes.
Yes, we do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So I recapitulate. If you have a reference that includes from 3 to 5 authors, the first time this reference appears, you need to refer to the 3 authors together: Adams, Sweezy, and Hodgson. But the second, third, fourth, and other times, this work is again cited in your work, you need to mention only the last name of the author, of the first author, plus this symbol, which is Ethel, as you can see before you on the current screen, plus the year of publication. Now, let's see the last scenario, the last case scenario. That is when we have, yes.
et al. It means the second names of the other authors?
Yes, it tells us as readers, it tells us that this work was authored not only by Adams, but there are other colleagues who jointly worked together with Adams in the same work.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, great. Now, the last situation is when we have from 6, that is if we have 6 or more authors. As you can see here, we have a crowd. Okay, this is a lot of people. And therefore, instead of mentioning all of those authors, all the 6 authors, which would take much space in our work, what we do, the first time this work is referenced, the first time this work is cited, I need to refer to the last name of the first author plus ETL, and then the year of publication, and then I go on with the citation. Okay? Okay,
Yeah,
is it clear for
okay.
everyone? Is it fine?
Yeah.
Please, sir, can you repeat?
Concerning
Sir,
the
I have
last...
a question.
Okay, go ahead. What is your question?
When we choose a name of one author between one of the workers in a team, it means that this person is focusing on the point which
Can you
I'm going to write about.
Can you please repeat the last point, because there was a cut off in the line of communication. Can you please just repeat the last point? I didn't hear it.
I mean, sir, that when we choose a name of one author between the others,
okay, good.
It means that this person is focusing on the idea which we are going to talk about it between the others.
No, it's not that. Okay, so let me explain to you this idea of why do we refer only to the first author. When there is a team of colleagues working on the same piece of research, there is always one person who is the leader, who is the coordinator within that team. And when they want to publish their work, they need to have, that is the publishing house or the journal where they want to publish their work. Of course, they're not going to talk to all of them. If there are 6, they're not going to communicate with 6 individuals. Normally, they choose an author who is the corresponding author. That is the author with whom they communicate. That is, if they want, for example, to ask the authors to make changes in their work or to make modifications in their work, they always communicate with one particular author. And that particular author is always the first one in the list of names. And that is why when you want to refer to this work, we usually go to the last name of the first author, because that is the most important author, the most important last name in the series of names. Is it clear?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, good. So let us recapitulate. Now we have seen how many situations? We have seen, let me see, the first 2 are more or less the same, the second and the third. So we have 3 different situations. Okay, focus with me, please. This is important. We have 3 different situations. The first is when we have 1 or 2 authors. Okay, wait a second until I bring back the document. This is not it. Okay, here we go. So here we're talking about 3 different situations. The first one is when we have 1 or 2 authors. When you have 1 or 2 authors, each time you want to cite their work, you need to mention all of them. If it is 1 author, you mention that author all over again. If it is 2 authors, you mention those 2 authors all over again. Now, the second situation, it is when we have from 3 to 5 authors working on the same piece of research. If you have a reference of this kind, when you want to mention it the first time in your text, you need to refer to the 3 authors together. You mention all of them. If it is 5 authors, you mention all of them. But if you want to mention them again in your text, a second time and a third time and a fourth time, you need to mention only the last name of the first author, meaning the corresponding author. Of course, using following this by the simple ETL and then the year of publication. This is the second situation. How about the last situation? It is when we have 6 or more authors. When we have 6 or more authors, as I said some time ago, you need to mention only the last name of the first author, plus ETL, plus the year of publication between parentheses. Is that clear for everyone?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay, good, good.
Yes,
Now,
sir.
sometimes we have a piece of work, a piece of research that is published not by an author or not by a group of authors, but it is published by an organization. And therefore, because this is important, because we don't have a name of one particular author or a name of a group of authors that we may want to use, but instead we have a name of an organization. That is, if we have such a situation, what can we do? This is exactly what I'm going to talk about in this example here on the current screen. So this is the first citation. According to the American Library Association, if there isn't an established abbreviation of the name of the organization, the first time you mention it, you need to mention the whole thing the first time, and then between parentheses, you take the initials of the organization. For example, the A here refers to American, the L refers to library, and the A refers to association. And you need to do the same thing a second time and a third time and a fourth time you mention or you refer to this particular piece of research. This is if the name of the association is not well known. That is, there is not an agreed upon abbreviation that everybody uses to refer to this association. In this case, you need always to refer to the name of the association, and between parentheses, you abbreviate it, as you can see on the screen. Now, the second situation is when we are talking about an organization that has a well-established abbreviation. The name of it has a well-established abbreviation, like the case with North Atlantic Treaty Organization, which is NATO. I believe that everybody knows NATO, what NATO stands for.
No, we don't.
You don't know what is, you've never heard of NATO?
No.
We heard that
No,
The Second
uh,
World War.
no, sir. No.
This is an organization. It is a treaty. It is a deal between Europe and the United States and the North of America, the United States of America and Canada. What do all of these countries agree to do? To defend their interests. That is, whenever, for example, if there was a war, for example, if France got into a war with, I don't know, with Russia or with China or whatever, all of the countries that are subsumed within this organization of NATO would rally together to help France against Russia or against China. This is a well-known organization. I thought you would know the abbreviation NATO, HIF NATO. Have you heard this? HIF NATO.
Yes.
Have you heard this?
Yes, sir.
Yes, yes.
Okay, great. So did we get this? Is it clear for everyone? That is when we have, that is the name of the work we want to cite is not a name of an author, but a name of an organization. Is it clear for everyone? We have, as I said, we have two different situations. If the name is known, we repeat it over and over again. If the abbreviation is known, we just use the abbreviation and we forget about the whole title of the organization. Okay?
Yes.
Professor,
Yes, go ahead, please. Go ahead.
should we like put the abbreviation that we created from the initials of the organization name between brackets or parentheses?
Are you talking about the first situation or the second? Because as you can see, there is a difference.
The first one. The first situation.
If it is the first one, it's parentheses. Okay, you put it between parentheses. Okay, but if it is the second situation, as you can see, you put the name of the organization between parentheses and the abbreviation between brackets. As you can see here, I'm talking about this here.
Thank
you. Okay, fine. Now, sometimes you have, I don't know, an article or a chapter or a paper that doesn't have a name of an author. You can run into such a situation. So if you run into such a situation, what can you do? This is exactly what we're going to talk about at the moment. For example, if it is a book, here we have the case of a book. So the book Histories of Leisure. Normally, remember the first examples we referred to. Normally, when we want to cite somebody's work, we use the last name of the author. We don't use, excuse me. Okay. So we don't use the name of the book. It is wrong to use the name of the book plus the year of publication. If the author is known, use the last name of the author. But if you don't have a name for an author, so you use the name of the book plus the year of publication. Okay?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
I didn't get it, sir.
Very simple, very simple. What is the normal way we can cite people's work if it is a book, article, paper, and so on and so forth? It is by using the last name of the author plus the year of publication. This is what we talked about a few minutes ago.
Yes.
Fine. Now, what if the work that you have, that is, if it is a book, if it is a paper, article, paper in a, I don't know, magazine, if you do not have a name of an author, you are not going to leave it blank. But common practice has it to use the title of the book, and here the title is Histories of Leisure. And then between parentheses, you put the year of publication. Okay, so this is kind of special situation. It's not like the normal situation when we have a clear name of an author which we can use in our in-text citation.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, again, this is important. I need to explain it to you. Can you see this? The one I'm highlighting now? This ND? Can you see that, guys?
Yes.
Professor, I'm sorry, I'm having a problem. I only see like half of the table that's there.
Yes, me too.
Unfortunately, I can do nothing about that because is it the case for everybody?
I have that problem too.
Yes, sir.
No.
Yes.
The same problem.
Yes,
Yes.
we have.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, we have. I'm only
Okay. So let me see what I can do about this.
Yes, sir.
Okay, let me go back again. How about now?
Yes, that's better.
Yes, we see it.
Is it good now?
It's much
Yes.
better.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
great.
Yes. It's good.
Okay, so I was talking to you about this abbreviation ND. Sometimes you do find a name of an author or names of authors if it is done in collaboration. Sometimes you don't have a year of publication. You have the name of the author or you have a name of an organization, but you do not have the date. In this case, between parentheses, you just enclose this ND. You use parentheses and you put N dot D dot, which the N stands for no, and D stands for date. I think this is easy to understand.
Sir, I didn't understand.
Which one? The idea of the year.
Yes.
I said that sometimes you find a piece of work, but you don't have the year of publication. You don't have access to it. You don't know when this piece of research was published. In this case, you can use this abbreviation, which is N dot D dot. And you put it between parentheses, like what we have here. Between parentheses, you put N dot D dot. Very simple.
Sir,
Okay, thank you.
sir,
Yes,
I have I can use this in the case if I, for example, forget the date of a work.
No, look, this is what I'm talking about here. For example, if the book or the paper or the article that you want to cite is really important, the ideas that you want to include in your own work are so valuable that you cannot do without it. In this case, it's fine to use this N dot D dot. It's fine to use it. It's okay. But what if you can do with that? That is, you can do without that piece of work. That is, you can maybe have recourse to some other piece of work instead of using this work to which you do not have a clear date of publication. This is when you have no other recourse, no other resort. But if you have an alternative, if you have another possibility, it's better to use a piece of research, a publication that has a clear publication date. Okay?
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay, fine.
Yes.
Okay, sometimes we may have a work in which it is stated clearly in the work itself that the author is anonymous. And it's not the case that you didn't find the name of the author, but in the book itself or in the article itself, it is clearly mentioned that the name of the author is anonymous. In this situation, this is how you can cite it. Okay, you put in the place where we normally use the last name of the author, you put the word anonymous, and then comma, and then year of publication, and then page number. Now, what do we have in this important note? Because when you refer to this piece of work as anonymous, it's like you are using an author's last name. When you move on to the next stage, where you need to start making your references section, you need again to refer to this piece of work. The way you're going to refer to it is the way it is alphabetically arranged. Here we have A, N, O, etc. So you put it where it fits within the alphabetical order of the other references. Is this point clear for everyone?
Sir, I didn't get the last point.
Okay, let me show you another document where I may have this one. No, this is not it. Just to make the point clear for everyone, let me go to this folder here. Maybe I get it somewhere. Let me check this out. No.
Professor, I have a question.
Just wait a second until I get my hands on a reference. Okay, let me take you to a paper, maybe a paper that was already published. Let me check one of the papers I have here. Let me check this out. Oh, this is a chapter. Here we go. Okay, here we go. This is what I'm talking about. This is an original paper published by Andrews, 2006. That is when you finish doing your in-text citations. Can you see what I'm talking about here?
No, sir.
You can't see it.
Sir, no,
sir, no.
Okay, wait a
We
second.
cannot see.
Maybe you need to see it from inside, not from outside. I'm gonna show you what I'm talking about here. A few seconds. Okay, here we go. This is what I'm talking about. Now it's 100% sure that you can see what I'm talking about here. Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay, fine.
Yes, sir.
So
Professor.
this is an original piece of work published by Andrews 2006. That is when this author finished doing his in-text file. You can't see that? Just wait a few seconds. Just wait a few seconds and it will appear. So can you see it, everybody?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So suppose this Andrews 2006 found a work which to which there was this label of anonymous. That is, there was no clear reference to a particular author who published the work, who did the study. In this case, where are we going to place this reference in the list of references that we have? Look here. As you can see, all of the references we have in this work are alphabetically arranged. We have A, we have B, and then we have C, we have D, we have E, we have H, and so on and so forth. Okay, clear for everyone?
Yeah,
So
it is
in,
clear, sir.
Yes.
so in case I want to include, in case I want to include this reference to which we have an anonymous name of the author, this is where I need to include it. Let me see. We have here.
After Andrew.
After Andrews. That's what I'm talking about. Okay. So I just need to remove this one and take you back to the document, the main document that we are dealing with right now. Maybe it's this one here. No, not it. Okay, this one. Okay, somebody earlier wanted to ask a question.
Yes, it was me, Professor.
Yes, please, go ahead.
It's about you've told us about two cases now, like when we don't have an author. Like, should we? In which case should we put the book's name, and in which we should put anonymous?
Very simple again. Look, if you have a reference, but it's not mentioned in that reference that the name of the author is anonymous. It's not mentioned. It's not articulated. In this case, you are going to use the first situation that I talked about. Okay? That is, you are going to use the title, the name of the book, the title of the book, as it's like you are using a last name. But if in the reference itself, it is clearly mentioned, it is explicitly mentioned that the name of the author is anonymous. You have this word, okay? You have this expression, anonymous. In this case, when you want to put it inside of the body of your text, you use anonymous, comma, year of publication, comma, and year and page number. And when you want to include it in your references section, you situate it where it is alphabetically fit, the way I explained to you a moment ago. So this is how it works.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, great. Now, let's move on to the next situation. Here we're talking about two or more works within the same parentheses. Okay, this is again very simple. Look, sometimes I have an idea, and this idea is something that not only one particular researcher talked about, but maybe it is common to research done by a whole lot of researchers. And in this case, when you, for example, mention the idea at the end of that idea, at the end of that sentence, you want to refer not only to one particular author, but you need to mention all of the authors who talked about that same idea. In this case, we would have a situation like this one here. Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
good.
Yes,
sir.
Okay, so let me explain this to you further. So here, what do we have? Here we have, do we have one piece of work, or do we have two different pieces of work?
I think
Two different pieces of work.
Excellent. So here we don't have only one publication, but we have two different publications. We have Broadway, 2001, and look at the semicolon, very important. What does this semicolon tell us? It tells us that here we don't have only one work, but we do have two different publications, two different pieces of work. Clear?
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
That's number one. Number two, the way you need to arrange these publications is in the alphabetical order. You need to start, for example, here we start with B, and here we have S. If we have, I don't know, if we have H, G, and so on, so you need to place the names of those authors in between Broadway and Smith. If we, for example, if we have Andrews 2006, instead of beginning with Broadway, we need to begin by Andrews 2006, Andrews, 2006, semicolon, Broadway, 2004, semicolon, Smith, 2010, and you go on this way. Is it clear?
Yes.
Good.
Yes, Professor.
Okay, good. Now, what if the idea that you want to cite was mentioned in two different publications, published in two different years, but by the same author? This is how we can handle this situation. Look at this example. We have Gonzalez, comma, 2007, comma, 2013. What does this mean? It means that Gonzalez talked about the idea I'm citing in a piece of work that he published in 2007 and in another piece of work that he published in 2013. Is that clear?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes,
great.
yes, sir.
Okay, please be focused, because the more examples we talk about, the more overwhelming it becomes, the more confused you might get. So please focus. Now, we're talking about the following situation I would like to talk to you about is one in which we have the same author or the same authors publishing two different pieces of work, but not into different years, in the same year. For example, one was published in January and the other, I don't know, in June or August or September and so on. In this case, what do we do to differentiate these two different publications? This is how we do it. Look here, here we are talking about a work that was co-authored by Zhang and Xu. Okay? And here we have between parentheses, we have 2009. But how do we differentiate between these two publications? Using lowercase letters. Here we have 2009A, comma, and here we have 2009B. What does this mean? Here we're talking about two publications published in the same year by the same authors.
Instead of writing A and B, we write the first letters of the month.
No. You use A and B. This is how this is how it should be done according to the APA style. Okay. Okay. So what is the difference between this one here I'm highlighting right now and the one we have immediately after? Here, if you are referring to, look here, studies by, you mentioned the names, and then you put between parentheses the year of publication. And here you are differentiating between two different pieces of work. One is A and the other is B, as I said a moment ago. In the second situation, here you mentioned the idea, and after that, between parentheses, you enclose the names of the co-authors, comma, and then you again put year of publication A and year of publication B. So is that clear for everyone?
Yeah,
Yes.
it is clear, sir.
Okay, can we?
Yes, sir. It's clear.
Okay, so I'm gonna go back to that and try to explain to you with more examples. I just want to recapitulate what we've been talking about in this section. That is two or more works within the same parentheses. Help me out. Let's do it together. What is the first situation? What is the first situation that we saw? I'm talking about this one here.
When we want a reference to one author.
But there, do we have one author, or we have
we have two books.
Two publications.
Yes. Two publications discussing the same idea.
Excellent. We have two different publications, and again, how do we do it? How do we differentiate between the two? Using a semicolon. Okay, this is what tells us that we are talking about two different publications. Okay. And again, I said that to arrange them correctly, you need to arrange them according to the alphabetical order. Okay, you need to go A, B, C, D, etc., etc. Now, this is if we have the same idea talked about by two different authors. How about when we have this second situation? Can somebody explain it to me?
They're the same author, but different years.
It's the same author, different year. What does this idea of different years mean? Different publications, different pieces of research. Published in different years, not the same year. And the last example, what do we have? How about this example here?
It's when we have the same thing.
Published in the same year.
The same author or the same authors, but they have published two different works in the same year.
Years, but not in the same time, like.
Sure. So we need to differentiate the two works by using these lowercase letters, A, B, C, D, etc., etc. Now, one of your friends asked me about this one here, the difference between this one here and this one here. This is very simple. Look, here we are using, let me just highlight this one just to help you see what I'm talking about. Here we go. Here, what do we have here? Here we are referring not to the idea only that we want to cite in our work, but we are referring to the idea plus the person or the people we are talking about. Look here. It's like this. Take this as coming in the middle of text, not that is a sentence that started with it. We're talking about you're writing a sentence, and towards the end of the sentence you say studies by, and then you mention the names of the author. In this case, you are not going to enclose everything. That is, it's not correct. It's not correct to say, please focus on this. This is important again. It's not correct to say studies by, and then you enclose Zhang and Xu, and then you put comma, and then you put 2009, comma, 2009b. This is not correct. If you say by, it means that you are including the names of the authors inside of the structure of the sentence. They are part of the sentence. And therefore, you need to get the names of the author outside of the parentheses. But if you are mentioning the idea and the names of the authors are not part of the structure of the sentence, in this situation, you enclose the names of the authors between parentheses, like we have in the second example. Is this clear for you, the one who asked the question?
Yes. Yes.
Yes, yes, good.
Okay, great, great.
Sir,
Yes.
I have a question.
Please.
In those different situations, the title of publications, we don't need to mention the title of publications, or we need.
No. You need the title and other important information when you want to build your references section. That's the second. That's the second part of the online meeting we are having now right now. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Great. By the way, just a little note on the side, just to clarify a few important things here. Remember, what we're talking about here is the APA style, the APA formatting system. And when I say the APA style, it means that we have other important styles like the MLA and others. Because I don't want you to see, for example, some other formatting system employing the title itself of the book and say, well, the teacher told us that we don't use the title, but we do find it here in this book or in this article. You have to make sure that the book, the article, the paper, the piece of work that you are dealing with is one that is formatted according to the APA style. If it is formatted according to some other style, you might have other conventions, meaning you need to study the conventions of the other style. But what I'm talking to you about here, what I'm trying to bring to your attention here is conventions related to the APA style, the American Psychology Association formatting system. Clear for everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Yes,
yes, sir.
Okay, good. Now, let's now move on to talk about secondary sources. What do we mean by secondary sources? Can somebody explain this to me? Do you know what we mean by that?
Maybe it's like when you find an information in a source which cited from another original source, I guess.
Good. That's the point. So we need to make a difference between primary sources and secondary sources. What do we mean by a primary source? A primary source, it could be a book again, a book. Yes?
The original source.
That is, you dealt with the original text, the original source. Now, sometimes, as you are reading a paper or a book chapter, a piece of research, you notice that the author of this piece of research, from time to time, quotes certain authors, other references in the work. Now, In this case, you have two different possibilities. You have two different alternatives. One is to say, that is, you cite the idea of the work that was cited in the text, the original text that you've been dealing with. You cite the idea and you say, as cited, it's here mentioned somewhere. Let me see where. Ah, here we go. This is it. This is what I'm talking about. So look here. Smith argued that results were directly related to a population decrease within the region. Look, the Smith that we're talking about here, that is not an original text that I dealt with. That is an idea that was referred to by Robertson. And what is the original work that I dealt with? It's Robertson. It's not Smith. I found mention of Smith within the work of Robertson. And when I do, and when I cite such an idea or such ideas, the way I need to cite this is you put this between parentheses. You say, as cited in Robertson, comma, 1995. And when you do this, what are you telling us? What are you telling the reader? You are telling the reader that Smith was a secondary source, not a primary source, meaning you did not have the original paper or the original book or the original book chapter by Smith. What you read indeed was Robertson's piece of work. And inside of it, you found the work of Smith. Is it clear for everyone?
Yes.
Yes.
That's number one. That's number one. Number two, it's not good. It's not good if you are writing your research report always to say, as cited in Robertson, as cited in Richardson, as cited in John. It's not good. If you do it once or twice, it's fine. If not, you make sure that you are dealing with primary sources. For example, suppose I was reading Robertson, and I found that Robertson is talking about an idea which he found in Smith. It would be a good idea on my part to go and search for the publication that was released by Smith. That is the original text. When you lay your hands on the original text, instead of saying as cited in Robertson, you are going to cite Smith because you dealt with the original text of Smith, instead of just saying as cited in. We have recourse to this strategy to say as cited in. It's only when it is very hard for you to get the original piece of work of Smith. But if you can, go and search for Smith's publication and insert it as a primary text, not as a secondary text. Is it clear for everyone?
Sir, I have a question. Is the primary source, is it Smith or Robertson?
No, the primary text is Robertson.
Because you said the original text of Smith, I thought it was him.
No. I said in case it's possible for you to find the original work, the original piece of work of Smith. If it is possible, go to the internet and try to read it. When you do, when you find those ideas that Robertson is talking about, then when you cite Smith, you are not citing Smith as a secondary source. You are citing Smith as a primary source. Now, when are we to use this technique that is saying as cited in? It is only when it is very difficult for us to know or to get access to the original text of Smith. In this case, we use this technique. We say as cited in Robertson.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Good.
Thank you.
Good. One more little thing I need here to talk about. Can you see this important note?
Yes.
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
Now, look here. If you are using a secondary source like Smith here, Smith is secondary source. When you start building your references section, you don't have to refer to Smith because Smith was only a secondary source. The reference that you need to refer to is Robertson, 1995, and you do not mention Smith in your references list, in your references section. Does it make sense to everybody?
Yes, sir.
So we could not see the screen.
Could you please repeat what you said, please?
I could not see the screen.
Up until now?
Yes, until now.
I don't know what might be the cause of that, but is it the case for everyone? Everyone, can you see the screen?
No. Sir, she can. Sir.
Okay, I'm going to get out and
sir,
in again. I'm going to get out and in again to get you to the to see the document I'm talking about here. Okay, so here we go.
sir, if
Again.
it doesn't work for her, she can get out of the meeting and then come back.
This is exactly what I did. Can you see it now? Can you see it?
Yes. Yes. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
We
Great.
can see.
Okay, so let's continue. Now, when you do research, sometimes it's not a question of books, book chapters, articles, papers, and so on. That is information that you find in clear sources. That is sources that we get published either in hard copy or in soft copy. Sometimes it could be just a telephone conversation that you had with a prominent scholar, with a prominent figure in the field, and he talked to you about some important ideas that you may want to employ in your own work. The problem with this is that it's not a book, it's not a book chapter, it's not a paper that you can that is either download from the internet and read or go to a library and purchase to read at home. It's something that the reader, when they know about it, they could not have access to, because it was only between you and the expert in the field. What we call this type of communication is personal communication, and this could be an email, it could be a telephone conversation, it could be a personal interview, it could be just class notes or some other data which is similar to the rest that we talked about. Is this clear for everyone?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So the way we deal with this is, as you can see, displayed right here. So for example, suppose you attended one of my lectures, and there was an idea which you feel is interesting, which fits well in the piece of work that you are doing. But of course, I didn't write it in a book. I didn't write it in a paper that you can cite by using my name, Ziad, Ziad, between parentheses, you put the year of publication. In this case, you say, during a lecture, Professor Ziad discussed, and then you say whatever thing I discussed. And then between parentheses, you write personal communication. When you say personal communication, we understand that this is just something that you noted down as you were attending one of the lectures by Professor Ziad. Is this clear?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes.
So instead of mentioning the name here, the name of the author, you say personal communication, comma, month, day, and then comma, the year when this happened. Is that clear for everyone?
Yes.
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
This is another example in a telephone interview with the association's president, and then you say the idea, and then between parentheses you put the name of the person you are talking about, the president, as you mentioned here, and then you put comma, you put personal communication, then again month, day, and then year of publication. Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Teacher,
Yes, please.
we don't mention that in the references, in the reference list.
A good question. Thank you, because you asked me this question. That was something I wanted to talk about, but it just eluded my mind. Listen up, guys. It's according to established practice, it's not good. It's not good to refer to personal communications. Usually when you want to do some in-text citation, that must be a book that you read, that must be a book chapter that you read, or a paper, or something that is concrete. Okay, using personal communication, here we do have it, it's possible, but I don't advise you to do it. Okay?
Okay, sir.
And to respond and to respond to your friend's question, just to show you that this is not really an important piece of information that you may want to include in your work. That is, it's not good to include it as part of your references section. It's not good. You should not do that. Okay?
Okay, sir.
So when you want to make your references section, don't refer back to this personal communication that you made inside of the body of your text. So this is something we need to be clear about. So we have finished now. We have finished now with the how we can do in-text citations as far as those details related to last name of the author, when we have one author, when we have 2, 3, and so on and so forth. Now we're going to turn to something different. It's still within the same issue, but it's a little bit different from what from the rest of what we've been talking about so far. Now we're going to start talking about quotations. Now here we have two different situations. It's the first situation. It's when we have fewer than 40 words, or when we have 40 words and more. So let's talk about the first situation, when we have fewer than 40 words. Let's take the first example. Let me highlight it so as to show you what I'm talking about. So if it is, remember the other ideas that we've been talking about are you are citing the ideas, you are not quoting, you are paraphrasing. But now we're talking about quotations. Okay, so the way we deal with this situation is as follows. As Carlo 1988 stated, and then you put a comma, and then you put the original words of the author between double quotes. Okay, no matter what we do, there is never enough time to accomplish everything on our on our to-do lists. And then after the second double quotes, you between parentheses you mention the page number, and then you put full stop. One of the common mistakes that some students make is I'm talking about this here. Let me just select what is of importance to us. Okay, here we go. Can you see this portion of the example I'm highlighting? Can you see that?
Yes, Professor.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I would like to warn you against, I would like to caution you against putting the full stop here. Can you see that?
Professor?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we do.
It's not right. It's not right to put the full stop here. It's not right to put the full stop after the double quotes. It is only right when you put the full stop after the page number as we have here. Because some students do make this mistake. They either put it between the last word and the quote, or immediately after the quote, and then they put another full stop after the page number. No, there is only one full stop, and you should place it immediately after the page number, as you can see on the current screen. Somebody wanted to ask a question.
Professor?
Yes, please, go ahead.
Can you please repeat this idea of this mistake? I didn't hear you very well.
Very simple. Again, as you can see in the example we have here. So here we have the quote. Can you see that?
Yes.
What I would like you to pay attention to is the sentence does not end at the end of the quote. That is, it doesn't end here. It doesn't end here. Can you see the highlights I made?
Yes.
So if it doesn't end here, you can only use the full stop after the page number, after this.
Yes.
Okay, here is the full stop. Here it should be placed. Not before the quote, not immediately after the quote, but it's immediately after the page number. And this is the common mistake I pointed out, that is some students either put it between the last word and the quote, or immediately after the quote. And I'm warning you against that because it's incorrect.
Okay, thank you.
Fine.
Thank you.
Good, great. Now, here, what do we have here? As Carlo 1988 stated, here we are using Carlo as part of the structure of the sentence. Now, the second example is different. And why is it different? Because we are not using the author as part of the structure of the sentence, but we are referring to the idea, putting the quote, and having finished all of that, we are placing the name of the author between parentheses and the year of publication, and of course, page number. Can you see the difference between the first quote and the second quote?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. The last example. Again, is this including the name of the author as part of the structure of the sentence, or is it only after we mention the idea we use the name of the author? What do you think? Is it the first or the second situation?
The second situation.
What is it? Can you mention it? What situation are you talking about? Can you explain that to me?
Sir, it's the first because it's the part of the sentence.
Good, Mu'ad. Good, Mu'ad. So look, because this Bobbery is the subject of the sentence. It's the subject of find. Okay, so Bobbery found that many children. So here, this author, the name of this author is built inside of the structure of the sentence. That's why we are not placing the name of the author between parentheses. You only place it between parentheses when it's not part of the structure of the sentence. We need to be careful here.
Sir, I didn't understand.
All right, again. Look, take this example. What do we have in this example? As Carlo, 1998 stated, what is the subject? I'm asking the student who is asking this question. What is the subject of verb state? Yes, please. What is the subject of? It's Carlo. And what does it mean?
Carlo.
It means that Carlo is part of the structure of the sentence because it is a subject there. Again, here, example number 3. It's exactly the same as example number 1. Here Carlo stated, and here this Bobbery found. Both of them are built inside of the sentence. They are part of the sentence because both of them are subjects. The first example and the third example are different from the second in that. In the second, Paul, can you see Paul here?
Yes.
Paul is not a subject. It's not an object. It's not an object of a preposition, and that's why it's not part of the structure of the sentence. And because it's not part of the structure of the sentence, we are placing it, we are enclosing it between parentheses. That's the point I'm trying to get at.
Oh, okay. Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay, good. Okay, now this is the second situation. The second situation is when we have, that is the quote or the quotation that you want to cite goes beyond 40 words or more, and therefore you need to count the number of words. Now, if we want to do this, what do we call this kind of quotation? We call it a block quotation, because we do not build it inside of the paragraph that we are writing, but we move it outside of the paragraph. That is, you provide a little description for the quote or the quotation that you are talking about, and then you come immediately under this description or this explanation you are giving, you indent on both margins. I guess here we have the number of inches because this is specific. I don't know where we have the mention of the number of inches. Let me see.
Professor, I don't
Yes, please.
see
Yes,
anything. I don't see anything.
Okay, again, I'm going to get off and in again to help you see what I'm talking about. Can you see it now?
Yes.
Okay, good. So if we have a block quotation, it's when we have 40 or more words. We do not build it inside of the paragraph. That is, we take it outside of the paragraph. We make indentation on both margins of the text, and we put our paragraph. That's number 1. Number 2, we do not use quotation marks. We use quotation marks only when we have fewer than 40 words, like the examples we talked about earlier. But if it is beyond 40 words, you make block quotation, you indent on both sides, on both margins, and you do not use quotation marks, like the example we have here. Is it clear for everyone?
Yes, sir.
Sir, I don't get it.
By the way, here we don't have to make this indentation. This is wrong. That is, we should have the same line here. It should be on the same line. We should not have this style is called hanging. That is, you should not do the hanging style here. Everything should be in one line here, and everything should be on one line here again. Okay, so you leave indentation here, and you leave indentation here. Clear?
Yeah, it's clear,
Yes.
sir.
Okay, good.
Teacher,
Good.
sorry, I didn't get it. Teacher, can you
This is
repeat,
very.
please?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Teacher, can you repeat, please? I didn't understand
Okay.
this point.
I'm working right now on a paper. I'm just gonna show you what I'm talking about. I'm going to get off again. Okay, to open the paper I would like to talk to you about. Where is that paper? Where can I get it? So it's somewhere here. Okay, here we go. So here. Okay, what is that Word document? Okay, can you see the Word document I've just opened?
Yes.
Good.
Yes,
Good.
Professor.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, fine. So suppose this part. Suppose this is my text. Okay. And in this text, I'm trying to introduce a quote or a quotation, a block quotation taken from an original text. And I would like to put it in my own work. How can I do it? This is how you need to do it. You highlight everything. Okay, suppose this is it. This is the quotation, the block quotation that I would like to insert inside of my text. You highlight it. You come all the way over here, and then you make margins on the first side. And you go to the other side and you do the same thing. Okay? So now, as you can see, it has become a block quotation. You don't use quotation marks here. You don't use quotation marks again here. And at the end, you put something like this. That is a parenthesis. You open it, and then you put P, referring to the page number, and you put something like page, let's say page 79. This is how it goes. And of course, we need to remove the full stop. Is that clear for everybody?
Thank you, teacher.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you,
Yes.
teacher.
Good. So we
Thank
do
you.
this. We do this when we have 40 words or more. You don't use quotation marks, and the text you put it in. You don't put it inside of your own text, but outside of it by making margins on both sides, as illustrated by example I've just given you on the Word document. Okay. I think, guys, that's it. That's it for today. I wanted to talk to you about how we can build a references section, but that, again, if we start doing that, it would take us something like 1.5 hours or something similar. And for this reason, we're going to stop at this point. If you have any question related to some of the points that we've raised so far in this online meeting, just step in and ask me those questions. If not, so we call it a day, and we meet next week, inshallah.
Can we have this?
Can you please
Teacher,
repeat
can
your
we have
question?
this document?
Sure. I'm gonna upload it onto Moodle. Okay, I'm going to upload it to Moodle.
Sir, can I ask you about Moodle?
Yes, please go ahead.
When we will have the grades about what we have sent?
This is a good question, actually. And again, I have two things I would like to refer to here. You have to understand that now we are not in normal circumstances. In quite normal circumstances, if we would have face-to-face meetings and so on, that is, I teach you face-to-face, I give you assignments, and then we come back to the classroom and try to give you my feedback on whatever assignment I assigned you. you have to understand that now we are doing some extraordinary work. That is, now I'm spending something like 8 hours in front of the screen of my laptop, which is too much. And I don't have only one class, just your class. I have something like 86 students. Add that to other classes in which I have something like, I don't know, 70, 60 other students. And to give you feedback, that is individual feedback for each student, is a hell lot of work. And I'm pretty sure you can understand what I'm talking about.
Yes, sir. Thank you for your hard
So
work.
whenever, I promise, whenever I have some space, I have some time left, I can always go inside of Moodle and try to read your pieces of work and send you my feedback. But that you need to understand that that's something that is really, really too much. That is my eyes. That is, whenever I finish a piece of work on my laptop and I want to get a rest, you have to understand that my eyes start to ache because it is too much work. Okay, too much work doing it on our laptops.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
It's fine. It's fine.
What you do for us. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir, very much.
Teacher.
Okay, so see you next time. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Have a good day.
Have a good day. Bye-bye.